Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Bishop Lafer. I am a marketing developer analyst with IDX Broker, and I'm joined by.
This is Alec. I am on the marketing team, and I do stuff and things. I'll be backing them up and trying to get to any questions you guys have.
So today we're going to talk about measuring success with Google tools. Basically, we're just going to run through how to sign up for analytics, talk about how to install the tracking code on your website, and then connect it to Google Search Console. And then we're also going to set up an AdWords account and then link them all together and show you how to install conversion tracking, and then we'll go through a couple of useful reports. So first thing that we want to do is register or create a Google account, because all of your accounts, your analytics, your Search Console, and your AdWords accounts will all be tied to this one Google account. You just go to accounts.google.com, click sign up, and this is the screen that it'll take you to. Put some information in. It's free. And it's really easy, and you definitely need one for everything else that we're going to cover. So once you've created a Google account, you'll want to sign up for Google Analytics, and you do that by going to analytics.google.com. This is the screen that you'll see when you click sign up, and then you just follow the instructions. As an IDX Broker client, you will want to track a website, and then you just give it an account name. Your website name would be, I typically use whatever domain I'm tracking, because if you have multiple domains and you want to use analytics for multiple domains, you can have all of those websites under the same analytics account. So you just fill out the form. Under industry category, you would select real estate and then your time zone. I just leave all of these default check boxes checked because you'll get information about new products as they come out, how to use tools, technical support, and account specialists. If you have like a threshold of traffic, then you can reach out to Google and get help with it. And then once you filled all this out, you click the blue Get Tracking ID button, and you will come to this page. And right here where this blue box is, to the left of it where it says Tracking ID, that's what you need. So if you are an IDX Broker client and you have a WordPress site, then you would want to use like a third-party plugin to install analytics. And also Squarespace is another popular one. Basically, if you're using like a content management system like WordPress or Squarespace or something like that, then you would want to follow those instructions by your content management system provider in order to install analytics. But you'll definitely need this tracking code, and also probably, depending on what the implementation is, how you're doing it, you also need this website tracking snippet that's right below it. If you just wanted to install tracking via middleware, you can do that just by putting it into our wrapper. So you would copy this script, and then you would go into middleware, and then under wrappers, in the static wrapper, you would break the code up a little bit. You have to have, in order for it to work properly, you do have to have like the opening HTML tag along with the head tag, and then you can put the script in here into the header code snippet. So this is this top section where it says header HTML. This is an example of the code that would go there. And then you would need to close the body tag and the HTML tag and the footer code. So that would go here in the second text area for footer HTML. And then once you've done that, you click save, and then you'll have analytics installed. And so if you are on a test page or your site is live, then you can come into your analytics account. And then if you click on the RealTime Report and have another tab open in your browser, then you should be able to see that you have one active user at that specific moment. So that's how you know that you have it installed properly and it is tracking correctly. It's important to do analytics first, because the next step in the whole process is to set up Google Search Console. Search Console is cool because it gives you insights into what people are searching for when they find your website organically. And when you link Search Console to analytics, then you can see these reports in your analytics account, which is cool. And Google just released for Search Console a new beta that if you're eligible for it, you will get invited. But basically, it gives you 16 months of historical data so that you can do year-over-year comparisons for specific key terms. So in order to claim your property, you just put in your website and then click Add a Property. And then the next step would be on the next page, you click on alternate methods. And the reason why we did analytics first is because if you have analytics properly installed on your website, then and it's the same exact Google account that you're logged into Search Console with, then you can just use Google Analytics to verify ownership of your domain. And so once you click verify, you'll come to this page and it'll say, congratulations, you have successfully verified your ownership of whatever your website is. And then it'll bring you into this page. One thing that's super important about Search Console is you can submit a sitemap so that Google will know what to expect on your website. IDX Broker actually provides a link to a sitemap for you. I'm not going to show you exactly where that is, but at the end of the presentation on the last slide, I do have links to support articles that will give you those instructions. In quarter 2, we're going to come back again and do a more in-depth analytics webinar. But for the time being, we're just like setting up accounts, linking them together, and then we're going to go over some of the basic reports and analytics.
Randy wants to know, does he have to set up a separate Google account that's common for the site, or can he access the different sites from his own unique Google account?
It's kind of a personal preference thing. If you want to set up a Google account that's separate, you can, but you don't necessarily have to. If it's your website, belongs to you and everything, it doesn't make any difference if you're using your personal account. You can give other people access via the admin section of analytics, of Search Console, and of AdWords without having to give your Google information out. So you just they have to have a Google account. A Google account doesn't even necessarily have to be an @gmail.com email address. Like for instance, I use my work email as a Google account. So you can just claim that as a Google account. So when you go to accounts.google to create one, say that you have an email address you're already using and create an account in Google using that existing email address. So it doesn't even have to be a Gmail account if you want it to be professional and match your domain across the board. So the answer is yes or no. It's personal preference, totally. Okay, so moving on from Search Console, the next step would be to create an AdWords account. So AdWords does cost money, and it's also kind of easy to spend a lot of money. You have to be really careful with this. But it is an extremely effective tool for marketing your website, because I'm sure most of you know there's more to just building a website. You actually have to drive traffic to it as well. This is one of our most successful avenues. By using pay-per-click advertising through Google, you also increase your organic search rankings, so they kind of work hand in hand. We had done a webinar in the past, SEO versus SEM. SEM being search engine marketing, and that's kind of the blanket category. SEO is search engine optimization, which is one factor of search engine marketing, and the other big factor being pay-per-click advertising. So AdWords is pay-per-click advertising. Setting up an account is pretty easy. If it's your first time, when you come in, they're going to try and get you to use Google AdWords Express. I don't really like Google AdWords Express, so I always switch to the regular AdWords. It says that AdWords Express is more ideal for small to medium businesses, but what that means is it's basically easier for you to create an ad and spend money, but it's harder to control exactly what you want to do with your ad. So if you're going to spend money on this, I recommend doing some research, and there's a lot of really good information out on the internet. Google provides a thing called AdWords Academy that is interactive tutorials that will teach you fundamentals of pay-per-click advertising, advanced search advertising, advanced display, video advertising, shopping advertising, and then mobile advertising as well. So that information is all freely available. You can even get certified for free. Also, if you happen to be a turnkey client, we do have a sister company who provides supported pay-per-click advertising if you happen to be a turnkey client through Agent Evolution. A lot of times people do choose to have someone manage these accounts for them because it is very easy to spend a lot of money. However, if you choose to do it yourself, by all means you can. These are the steps that you have to take in order to set up your account. Switch to regular AdWords. The first thing that it makes you do is pick a daily budget. So you pick a daily budget. Be aware though with AdWords that they part of the terms and conditions, they can spend up to 20% more than your daily budget. So if your daily budget is $10 a day, the maximum that can be spent is $12. So just keep that in mind and be careful. And it's because they want to show ads to people who are likely to convert. And it's just something that you have to keep in mind. It's rule of thumb. So once you've set your budget, then it makes you create an ad. I'm not going to run through how to create an ad right now. Instead, we're going to focus on the high level stuff. Just once you get into AdWords, you have to create an ad first to get into AdWords. What I recommend is get into AdWords and then immediately pause that campaign, because I created a totally new account for this webinar and I had to create a new ad. And in order to get in, you have to put credit card information in. And then I forgot to pause that campaign and it ended up charging me $15. So heads up, I'm a professional and I did it. So make sure you pause the ad if you're not ready to start running it, if you're just setting up the account, because there is a little bit of stuff you need to do once you get into AdWords. So when you get in, this is the new AdWords interface. There's like a tour. I recommend following the tour for sure, because everything is kind of moved around and it's easy to get lost. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, but the important thing is wrench icon in the top right hand corner over here. That's what you want. And then the first thing you want to do is link your analytics account. So you'll come in to this wrench icon, and then on the far right under setup there's this linked accounts. So you'll click that and it'll bring you to this page, and then you click on details under Google Analytics, and then it'll bring up a list of your accounts. You select the analytics property that you want to link, which is this, and you can verify that it's correct because it's got the tracking number here, so you can verify that in your analytics account, make sure that they match. And then auto tagging, this is for conversion tracking. So analytics and AdWords work together now, and if someone comes to your site and has some sort of interaction, such as like signs up for a newsletter or something like that, then if you have auto tagging turned on, that will be considered a conversion. So you want to go ahead and enable that for this account. Click that button. And then once you clicked it, it'll say auto tagging is enabled. And at this point, you have successfully linked your analytics account. Now, the important part of AdWords is like it costs money to make money, but how do you know if your ads are successful? You do that using conversion tracking, and that requires a little bit of code implementation. So you go under, again, you click this wrench icon at the top, and then under measurement, you click on conversions. And then it'll bring you here, and you'll set up a conversion. So you want to track a conversion on a website. So you'll select the option on the far left, and then you come in, give the conversion a name. So if it's like a new lead, then maybe you would call this lead generation, or if it's a transaction, if someone's like making a purchase on your site, then you would call it purchase or something along those lines. If you want to assign a value, if you can determine like of the number of leads that you get, how many actually convert into a purchase, and then what is the value of that purchase, then you can assign a value to that, and then you'll be able to see the value of conversions in your analytics reports. You also don't have to use a value, so that's totally up to you. It depends on what you're trying to track, I guess. And then you want to count every single conversion. And then another important part is down here under Attribution Model. I use position-based. 40% of credit to each the first and the last click, and then distributes the other 20% amongst the other clicks. So that basically means like, did someone find your website? Was the first time they came to your website via an advertisement on AdWords, or did they search for your domain name and go to your website and then search for a home, save a listing, and then register to receive email notifications? And then that being the conversion is them registering for email notifications. So the first click when they saw an ad would get 40%, and then the last click when they just came directly via organic traffic would get 40% of the conversion. It's just, I feel it works the best for us. Some people prefer last click, so if it's like last click being the very last click that they made before they made an interaction, like before they saved a search and signed up for notifications for a listing, was on an advertisement via AdWords, then that advertisement would get all of the 100% of the credit for that conversion. Or if it's first click, then the very first time that they clicked on an ad and then came through and then they left and then they came back and they just typed your URL into the internet browser, and then came to your site again and then signed up for notifications, then that would be all of the conversion attribution would go to the very first click on that advertisement. Linear would be all of every single click. So if they search, saw you on an ad, and then left, and then were looking at your website on their phone, having come directly, and then they saw an ad on Facebook or something, or you shared something socially, and they clicked through from a social network, then all three of those clicks would get an even amount of attribution. And then time decay is the closer to the conversion, the clicks closer to the conversion get more attribution than the clicks further away as far as time goes. We use position based so that you can tell exactly which clicks the same user had.
And can you use multiple conversion points on a single site?
You can use multiple conversion points on a single site. However, each time you use a conversion, you have to install specific conversion tracking code, which is the next step of this whole process. So there is the global site tag, which in order to do conversion tracking, this top section here, you have to put this in the same spot that you put your analytics information. If you're using a third-party CMS like WordPress or like Squarespace, then there's instructions on how to install this as well. You can literally just copy and paste this right underneath your analytics code in the head of your web page. And then for the specific conversion, right, there's another little snippet of code. Oh, this is the in Middleware. If you were to do it through Middleware, you would literally just copy and paste it right underneath your analytics code. And then for the second part, there's the small snippet for the individual conversion. So say you, for instance, for my test conversion, I set it up as a lead generation. So when after a lead signs up, they're redirected to the thank you page. So you come into Middleware and there's a spot in Middleware to paste in the conversion tracking code. So that event gets fired every time a user lands on that thank you page. And the only way for them to get to that thank you page is to register as a lead to get updates on a listing. So if someone's on that page, you know it's a conversion, and analytics will know whether that, because you have the code installed globally on your site, both analytics and AdWords, Google knows whether that user came from an ad on AdWords. And if they did come from an ad on AdWords, then this event fires off, and that click, whatever attribution model you chose, then those clicks will get attributed with this conversion. So that is conversion setup. It's a little tricky again. So now that we've gone through and we set up all these conversions, we set up analytics, we set up Search Console. Why did we do all of that? Well, we did all of that so that we could get into these reports, so that you can get more insights to your audience via analytics. So the first report I want to talk about is the RealTime Report. So this report tells you how many users are on your site in real time right now. So how many people are on your website and what page are they on? Also, it's got referral information, social traffic, so you can tell if someone came through Facebook, then you'll see that under top social traffic. And then if you have Search Console linked to your analytics, then this top keywords report will populate, and you can see what search queries people looked for, like what was the key terms that they searched when they found your website. Also up top, this bar right underneath the number of people who are on your site right now is what type of device are they on. Are they on the desktop? Are they on mobile? And that kind of segues into the next report I want to talk about, which is the audience overview. So under the audience overview, there's a lot of information. If you look on the left-hand side where the navigation is, this is just the overview. So it tells us this specific report. On the top right-hand side, there's a date selector. So this report is for 7 days, and it's the past 7 days. So in the past 7 days, our marketing site has had 6,700 users. 5,159 of them were new, and then 9,052 sessions. So if we had 9,052 sessions, that means of the 6,700 people who came to our site, many of them came more than once. So the average number of sessions per user is 1.35. And then in those 9,052 sessions, we had 17,075 page views. So that's just shy of 2 pages per session. And then our average session duration is 2 minutes and 3 seconds, which is pretty good. Also, our bounce rate being when a user arrives on your website and then doesn't make any interaction and then leaves your website. So a bounce rate of 51.48%. It seems like it's high, but that's actually really good. If the optimal bounce rate would be probably to be somewhere between 35 and 45%. If you're any lower than that, typically there's a problem with the way that your analytics is installed. So practically nobody has a lower bounce rate than 35%. So if you're seeing numbers lower than that, there's probably an issue with the installation of your tracking code. Under audience overview, this is just the overview page. Under the audience section in Google Analytics, you can get all sorts of useful information, the demographics of your audience, interests. So if you come into your interest reports, then you can see like in-market audiences, what are the things that your users are interested in, and then you can use that information to better target your AdWords campaigns, because interest and remarketing is a huge part. It's one of the bigger targeting options for display campaigns in AdWords. So display campaigns not being search campaigns, but their image ads or their dynamic ads that populate automatically in things like mobile applications or YouTube videos or stories on websites like the New York Times or BBC. Google Display Network reaches like 98% of the internet. So that's one option as opposed to just search. And using the interest report, that's how you get real insight into those types of campaigns and what your audience specifically is interested in and looking at. Also under the mobile, you can tell what types of devices, like what percentage of your traffic to your site is on a desktop as opposed to a tablet, as opposed to a mobile phone. And then you can even break it down beyond that, like of the mobile traffic, what types of phones are people on. You can get into what operating system people are looking at your website on, what browser do they use. So if you're like making site optimizations, if you find that you have a low average session duration and a really high bounce rate, it might mean that your website is not very usable. And then why is that? Maybe it's because your site is optimized for a desktop and 80% of your traffic is on a phone. Or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe your site is optimized for a phone, but like 85% of your traffic is on a desktop. So you want to cater to what your specific audience is. And the way that you do that is you use the audience tool in Google Analytics to really gain insight into what your audience, what their traffic patterns are. So this is the mobile report. As you can see, like 75% of our traffic is on a desktop. So we do still do mobile first, and our website works well on a phone. However, 75% of our traffic is on a desktop. And in here, because we have value associated with our conversions, you can see the revenue, the number of transactions, and the revenue for the past week. Right, and you can see that majority of it comes through desktop. So then you can use this report to determine, like in AdWords, do I want to do a bid adjustment? Like, am I willing to, because more conversions come on desktop, I'm probably willing to spend a little bit more money to advertise to a desktop user than I would be to advertise to a mobile user. So you can use a bid adjustment to, if the ad can be shown in a search on a desktop, then I'm willing to spend 15% more than if it's on a search on a mobile phone, in which case I want to spend 15% less, so that my ad is showing to people who are going to have the best user experience and are more likely to convert and make a purchase. And then next, as far as parent categories in analytics goes, is the acquisition overview. So this gives you insights into where your traffic is coming from. So the audience section teaches you about your audience. Like demographics, interests, what types of devices they're on, their browser, their network, that kind of thing. Acquisition tells you, where is that traffic coming from? Is it organic search? Is it referral? Are they coming directly to your website? Do they type your URL into the browser and hit enter and come straight to your website? Is it pay-per-click? Is it Google pay-per-click? Is it Bing pay-per-click? Is it Facebook pay-per-click? So this will let you know, like, if this is how you keep track of both your SEO and your SEM. So if you are not doing pay-per-click advertising and you're not getting any organic, and then you start doing some pay-per-click, then you can see how effective your pay-per-click traffic is in here. Also, you can keep track of month over month or year over year or even a custom time frame to see how much of an increase in organic traffic you've gotten as well. And so if your pay-per-click isn't converting and you're not also getting organic, then maybe you want to cut back on your pay-per-click, or you want to regroup and try a different campaign. target different keywords, something like that, maybe use a different interest targeting. And then the source medium report is another underneath the parent category of acquisition. This would being of your campaigns, which campaign did it come from? So like you can see we have our top traffic source is direct traffic, so that's people who just type our URL into the browser and hit enter, and followed by organic, followed by pay-per-click on on Google, followed by pay-per-click or organic on Bing, followed by Facebook referral. So these referral Facebook links right here, this is what a Facebook pay-per-click ad referral looks like. Same with the m.facebook.com referral in number 8. So both of those are traffic from paid Facebook advertisements. If it's organic, then it just says facebook.com. It doesn't have this l.facebook.com/referral. So you can keep track of how, like Facebook advertising is relatively new, and to be honest, when we first started using it, I wasn't sure if the numbers were accurate. So this is a good way to check that if you're in Facebook and you're advertising on Facebook and Facebook says you've had this many link clicks to come to your website, then you can come here and compare those numbers and see if that's accurate. In our experience, it has been accurate. All right, and this report, the queries report, this is why we linked our Search Console, is because here you can see of the organic traffic, what were the search terms that people were searching for, and where on the page did you list, how many times did you list, and how many clicks did you get. And then if you get access to the Search Console beta, then there will be 16 months of historical data that you can use to do year-over-year comparisons, which is really cool. We haven't actually gotten access to that yet. I'm sure that we will get it. I got on my personal Gmail account that I've had for, I don't know, a little over 10 years. I did get an invite to Search Console beta, but not on my professional. So I haven't. If I had, I would show you a screenshot, but unfortunately I don't have that just yet. They are rolling it out to everyone slowly over the next quarter, so hopefully everyone will have access to it by the summer. And then behavior. So this is what people do while they're on your site. Like, what pages do they visit? How long do they spend on each page? And this will help you determine which pages are capturing the most traffic. So like organically, when people are searching, like, do they find your index page first? Do they find like a specific listing first? Are you using community pages? Are you using save searches? Like, which of those pages are people landing on, and how much time are they spending on? And then of those pages, how many of those pages are converting, and which pages are converting, and how many times have they converted? All of those kinds of things can be seen under the behavior overview. So the all pages report is under behavior, and then site content, and then all pages. This tells you all the pages that have been visited, how many times they've been visited, average time on page, entrances. Entrances being this is the page that they first landed on when they came to your site. Exits being this was the page that they were on when they left your website. And then the page value being the revenue broken down by traffic. So like of all the time someone came to this, of all the page views and a conversion, and all the conversions that came from someone who had been on this page is how they determine the page value. So it's percent of total, 100%, right? So 19.29% equivalates to $3.20 because there's 5,931 page views on idxbroker.com in the past 7 days. And then again, submitting a sitemap to Search Console. The first two links are support articles on IDX Broker, support.idxbroker.com, explaining where to go to get your sitemap, and then how to upload it to Search Console. The second link, conversion tracking, is instructions for how to set up conversion tracking within Middleware. And then the next 4 links are all from Google. The Google Analytics help. Google also has Analytics Academy, which will kind of give you a more in-depth overview of what I just kind of touched on lightly. And then the AdWords Hub is also an interactive learning module for AdWords, which is, there's a lot more information about AdWords than there is about analytics. I recommend doing both, definitely. If you're not going to advertise on AdWords, you should definitely do analytics so that you can gain insights into your audience and learn how to use those reports to make the most of your website and your IDX broker account. And then the last two is a Search Console resource, so just like how to create an account and submit a sitemap. And then the last one is SEO Starter Guide, which is just a useful article on how to make your site more search engine friendly. We'll be doing a follow-up webinar in Q2 for more in-depth analytics reporting. So keep an eye out for that.
Sweet. Thanks, Shaw.
Thank you very much.